Hello, and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show. We have invited back Sister Natacha Kolesar, who is the founder and director of Ideal, a very special community up in Jaffrey, British Columbia. We shot a show up there this past summer, live, in person up there. I went up there to visit and got a chance to learn a lot about this community. Well, now she and some of her community are in New York, and we're taking this opportunity to sit down with Natacha to speak about a few things that are of great importance at this point in our history. In fact, the subject today is nonviolence. As you all know, we are in this very delicate position internationally right now, where there are certain people who are looking to be very aggressive and violent, and there is a large number of people that are looking to be actually just the opposite. Well, there is a history and a philosophy, you could say, between both kinds of approaches toward creating peace. And this is going to be the subject of today, and we're going to be looking at this from a practical as well as, you could say, from an esoteric or metaphysical point of view, and the ramifications and implications of both. So Natacha, thanks so much for coming back and being on the show with us today. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Today, unlike other times, we're faced with an international situation of tremendous purport, something like perhaps we haven't seen in many thousands and thousands of years. Yes, I know that the larger historical picture of man has had us gotten wiped out a number of times, and but the written record doesn't show so much of that. So for all intents and purposes, we're positioned at a time when the world is being held in a balance. We have nuclear weapons, we have biological weapons, and then we have people like yourself who talk about nonviolence. What would you say? What is the role for nonviolence at this point when different countries are poised and perched to attack one another?
First, we know, all of us, that we entered in a new millennium, in a new century, but also astrologically in a completely new astrological sign. And that for 2,160 years, next 2,160 years. But also there are some other cycles, extremely long, that humanity is finishing, and historically we don't necessarily know them. Mm-hmm. So we are finishing very, very long cycles, then smaller, and then smallest. So right. That's why it seems like there is not really a perfect order and harmony. And behind that, in general, each thing that exists has a beginning, has its own seed, and nature is the best teacher for us. So each seed, if is there, so each seed has inside like a program, like an image of a fruit. So if we want to find the seed of violence, where is the seed of violence? How is the seed of violence? Because the violence now, it is a fruit. It is a terrible, terrible fruit, a poison fruit.
Sure.
So if we find the seed, then we can find maybe the diagnosis,
right.
How to heal this situation, which becomes terrible.
Now, it seems, though, really, when we scan human history, we see an entire history of violence, of harvesting those seeds. I mean, this isn't new. In fact, really, when we look, it seems like there was never a time when violence wasn't a fruit.
Yes, there was a time, but very far ago. And what we are obliged to know now is that each kingdom that exists on this earth is ruled by a special law. And for example, for minerals, that mineral kingdom, there is the law of stability. For plants, they evolved through the law of sacrifice. You take a tree, you take some plants, they sacrifice themselves to help humans, to help animals. And the animals, they are under the law of the strongest.
Strongest as in the fittest?
Strongest is by force, physical force, by physical power. And then man, humanity, the law of humanity is the service. The law of service. But what happened in a very far past, we took the law of the animals. And first, of course, plants are the first who started to develop a little sensitivity. And animals, they have feelings. And human beings, they have thoughts. So each level or each kingdom has something more. And with the law, directed the kingdoms with the laws, so like we just took and we continue to evolve with the lowest law, the lowest for us, lower. And in this case, our behavior is similar because the law is like that. What is permitted for the animals, it is not in reality permitted for humans, but because they they borrowed the law of animals, we behave as animals.
Yes. And that's the reason we often say when people, he acted like an animal.
But it's not.
There's a problem with that.
But it's not completed.
Yeah.
First, because the animals develop their feelings, when we started to behave as them, we started to kill them. So man became a hunter. And it was not in a program of cosmic intelligence that we will become hunters. Historically, or by holy scriptures, we know that by a symbolic family of Adam, so one of his sons became hunter, Cain. But it was just like symbol. In reality, all humanity was involved in that. And through the centuries and epochs, it became everywhere like a normal way of behavior. But it is not normal.
So are you suggesting that, from that point of view, being non-animal eating is our true scriptural nature, at least?
Yes, to eat it is one thing, and to the flesh, or like human or animals, flesh or plants, they have also an apple has a flesh.
Sure.
But each kingdom has its own vibration also.
Sure.
And very soon the science of vibrations will be the first one, will be the most studied. So
prominent.
Yes, when we absorb this kind of flesh, what we absorb first are the vibrations. So the vibrations of their feelings or emanation of their feelings, they are fear, cruelty, violence, but especially
Anxiety.
fear. Especially fear, because an animal, before to be killed, an animal will feel 3 weeks before what will happen. So all flesh will be extremely contracted. And then the animal produces incredible amount of adrenaline. And then we absorb all that. So can you imagine that our wonderful developed societies, you will find everywhere fear. There is something not normal.
For sure.
So, and then, because for the animals it is normal to kill others. So we think that it is normal for us, but it is not. And what will be new with Aquarian age, that we will understand these things, and finally we will enter under the law of service. We have some examples. We take them as heroes, you know. We have, I don't know, Mr. Schweitzer, Mother Teresa, some other benefactors
Gandhi.
of humanity, Gandhi, and nonviolence especially, and some others, but they are not very numerous. All of us, we are like the cells, life cells of one human body.
Sure.
And the countries, they are in cosmography. The countries are like organs. So if one organ doesn't work for the health of the body,
you don't kill
then
it.
the organism is not healthy.
That's right.
And how we can create, how we can perfect everything, how we can produce wonderful things, because one organ, it means one country is not healthy, and we won't kill, or we won't violate, or we want something.
Do violence too.
Do violence too. So it means that the whole human organism is somewhere ill.
It loses the integrity of the whole. Because if you move an organ, if you remove a country, you do not any longer have the whole.
No, not just the integrity, but we are really not strong.
Yeah.
And we are, how intelligent we are doing these things. And the knowledge is right there for everybody. But we have to show our own will, first to learn it, then to correct it.
Right.
Because when we accumulate a lot of non-normal or non-harmonious, non-accorded, tuned with the cosmic laws, actions non-accorded, disharmonious, then we call it today a karma. Karma is a simple word from Sanskrit which means action.
Right.
But action in itself is neutral. How we color our action. Somebody is doing wonderful thing, so the color, the vibration, the emanation, the radiation of the action will heal somebody. And if we are doing a violent action, so in the universe there are precise laws,
proportionate emanation,
and
like that,
yes,
of a
and
negative dark color.
yes, and these laws will ask us to correct everything.
Let's go back to something, because you're saying a lot, and I want the audience to get it step by step, and also I want to make
I'm
the
sorry.
correct. Oh no, it's okay, but I have to interrupt you in order to underscore certain points, so I and then they understand. Are you saying, if you cite Cain, the Cain and Abel story, you cite Cain as the hunter, and then I asked if that suggests that if we weren't supposed to be hunters, then we are supposed to not eat meat. So the suggestion to connect the dots, the way you're putting it forth, suggests that by absorbing the vibration of the flesh, then we become animal-like, and then therefore behave karmically like animals. Therefore, we also absorb fear through the adrenaline release, etc. So today, we have an abundance, an overabundance of fear. Therefore, men will be much more likely to be violent. Is that the logic that you're laying out?
It is.
Okay.
And we have all together, we are free to do that or not.
Right.
To eat it or not, you know.
Sure.
But we will be obliged to understand it. That to change some habits will be very easy. But together, I think, the majority today, they want to heal this plague, this sickness, this abnormality. It doesn't have sense to send your children to the school and they never come back, because they kill each other.
Exactly.
So there is something not normal. So how to heal? And if we want to heal it, we have to make a diagnosis.
Now the thing though is, Natacha, that there are many people who don't eat meat who are just as, if not more violent than people who do. So it seems to me that while I think the logic is sound, and maybe in the best of all possible worlds that would be the case, but there's something not in resonance with it today. It seems like the problem has become so complex. Different kinds of, if you will, surgery on some level needs to take place to, like, rather at this point quickly change our karmic flow in the direction of violence.
But there is an explanation. What we have to learn, it's a complete human structure, you know. Mm-hmm. We are not just eating by our mouth. We have a nostril mouth.
Yes.
So we eat also the feelings. So you have a person, one person, and whole family continues to be in the same thing and as all humanity, and this person becomes very receptive. So in another level, we continue to absorb the feelings of everybody, you know. So if we have to heal something, all humanity will change. And the Aquarian age very soon will bring it.
This is the time.
And what for now is extremely important to know, that the real power to change and to heal this is in the hands of mothers. Mm-hmm. During pregnancy and even before, if mothers are not enlightened, but like enlightened, it means knowledgeable, and they know how to work with their thoughts, which is extremely powerful, and with nice, loving feelings, the prenatal education will be the best medicine.
Oh God, yes. I think that's true. Now, what do we do? And I really acknowledge you for the work that you have done in that domain, because I think it's critically important, and I'm a true believer. I know from personal experience how important prenatal education is, and something about the communication that takes place between the so-called outside world and inside as an embryo and a fetus. So I know I've spoken to my nieces before, and we've discussed it afterwards. So I know that the communication is real.
And I know quantity of families that when the child starts to eat, they just refuse all kind of flesh.
Interesting.
It means new generation.
Yeah.
The generation under Uranus and Aquarius, they will bring with them a new vibration. Yeah. Emanation is, of course, on the emotional level. Radiation is in a mental level. Mm-hmm. So with all these new elements, we will have a new generation. But, of course, the mother will be extremely important in this work.
Mm-hmm. God bless. Now, I want to come back to the situation, rather than waiting for a whole new crop of children to come forth. What we're dealing with right now is that there is a small band of men who want to declare war in the Middle East, which is karmically a hotbed of opposition between brothers, actually. We know the story.
The same father Abraham.
Jews, the same father Abraham, exactly. So, of all places, this is the scenario. God painted the picture very well, picked the right scene. And the thing is that it could lead to utter complete disaster, or it could be a breakthrough in consciousness and a breakthrough in what we're discussing about our relationship to nonviolence. And what I'd like to hear you speak to, if you would, is looking at the situation at this moment. Do you feel there is something that we as a collective or as an individual can do to shift the outcome in the direction of a lesser karmic punch?
Of course we can. Everybody can, if we work with light and if we work with love. Because these two elements, they are a little bit unknown, but these two elements, the light in the mental level and love in the astral level, they can dissolve a huge accumulation of karmic effects. We can do it individually, but if we have the possibility to do it collectively, it becomes extremely powerful. And now more and more we know the power of thoughts and loving feelings. So of course we can diminish the effects, because some of these effects became extremely solidified, like crystallized.
Yes.
So to dissolve this matter, yes, we need the power of thoughts, positive and light thoughts. So to work with light and love, that's the best methods how to do during the meditations, the prayers. And of course, then we change our behavior. Then we change our menu.
Yes, right. Now, would you recommend that these thoughts, because the situation as it stands is a rather particular one, that we would direct these thoughts of love and feelings of love toward particular individuals who are, in a sense, the most violent or perpetrating the violence? In other words, is it better for it to remain generic, or is it better for it to become specified?
It's better to send it to each human consciousness, to all cells. And the receptive ones, they will capture it and they will participate in the same way. If you have toothache, what do? You don't heal whole body. You are going to the dentist and you take care just of little part of your mouth. So the same thing. There are some parts. So, but whole body gives the power to heal it. In reality, we need a specialist. But whole body gives the healing power to arrange it, to heal it, to simply. So if we work for everybody, then it will be acceleration, and the good things, the harmony for all will come soon.
Now, what do you think of the idea that there are some, let's say, madmen that are at the heads of state? We'll leave the United States out for the moment, and we'll just go to Iraq, and we'll look at, for a moment, North Korea. Okay? These are fellows that have tremendous ability, tremendous power under their belt to blow up, half the world in a matter of, hours. What do you feel is the best strategy in a practical way? You want to run for president?
The best.
What do you feel is the best way?
Yes, the wisdom.
'Cause we need some wisdom right about
the wisdom
now.
from the past
Yes.
is just wonderful. There was a country, a huge kingdom, and in this kingdom, the people were not satisfied and rebelled, and they met a wise man, and they asked, "Oh, we have a terrible king. What we can do?" And the wise man just answered, "You have the king that you deserve." And then next day, king met the wise man, and he said, "Oh, you know, my subjects are terrible." And they are like that and like that and like that. And the wise man said, "Majesty, you have the subject that you deserve. So work with light, work with love for everybody."
Yes.
We have kings that we deserve.
Exactly. Exclude no one from your prayers. Right. No, that's a very good idea.
Thank you very much.
To come full, I think we still have another minute. And it might be too short for you to comment, but to come full cycle, if you will, you began speaking about the completion of time cycles. And what would you say is the longest time cycle that is coming to a conclusion, and is it coming to a conclusion now, or isn't it happening in 2012?
No, right now.
Now?
Now. Yes, there is one cycle of million of years.
A million?
Million of years. So this is really a huge cycle. But there is another one, 250 billions. And we are
That's really a huge one.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
So it's like we come to a new century, new millennium, new astrological sign,
age,
and
right.
then year, and then month, and then week, and then minute, and then second. So all these cycles are now together. It's like midnight, you know.
Yes.
And then all
everything becomes
together.
aligned.
Yeah, aligned.
For a new.
That's why it seems
day.
that it's very strong.
Exactly. Well, thank you. Really appreciate your shedding light
Thank you very
and
much.
love
Thank you.
on the subject, because
Very
God
welcome.
knows it needs it. Really
Very
appreciate
welcome.
it. Merci.
Merci.
This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.